In the United States, Zionist groups attacked the Gaza Solidarity camp at the University of California with the complicity of the local police. Unions and social movements commemorate International Workers' Day with mobilizations and strikes in different countries around the world. And in Indonesia, northern residents were evacuated while hundreds of others waited at the port of Tagulandang after Ruang volcano erupted. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In the United States, Zionist groups attacked the Gaza Solidarity encampment at the University of California with the complicity of local police. For hours, hooded individuals threw fireworks and beat students with blunt objects, while police officers watched the violent episode from meters away. The pro-Israeli counter-demonstrators sought to tear down the encampment while shouting Second Nakba, referring to the mass displacement and dispossession of Palestinians in 1948. This incident comes amid the largest wave of university U.S. riots since 1960s, in which thousands of students, instructors and activists are demanding an end to the genocide perpetrated by Israel in the Gaza Strip. The member of the Political Bureau of the Islamic Jihad movement, Ihsan Ataya, denounced on Tuesday the U.S. attempts to change the aid crossings to Gaza and put an end to the Palestinian resistance. The leader also warned that the delay of the Israeli aggression against Rafah is not due to humanitarian reasons, but to Washington's interest with the floating pier it is trying to build. Ihsan Ataya emphasized that the objective of the pier is to modify the access routes in the Gaza Strip at passes besieged by U.S. and Israeli forces. The Islamic leader also pointed out that his movement and Hamas reject any attempt to divide the Palestinian resistance. University students in France have also raised their voices for the Palestinian people after the military support to Israel by the West and the United States. The French authorities reported different mobilizations in at least 4 institutes of political studies, where the students blocked the access to the facilities to denounce the genocidal actions of Israel against Palestine. Demonstrators are also demanding that the educational institutions cut their ties with Israel. Lebanon also joined the international university protests in favor of the Gazati citizens and against the Israeli occupation. Lebanese university students rallied on Tuesday at the campus of the American University of Beirut. Demonstrators urged university authorities to impose sanctions against companies linked to the Israeli regime and to condemn the attacks against Lebanon and Palestine. Lebanese students joined the mobilizations in the United States and Europe, which have been going on for 2 weeks, and denounced the crimes committed by Israel. In Venezuela, the Federation of University Students rallied on Monday against the Israeli genocide in Palestine. The FBEU did not limit itself to condemning Israel, but also criticized the U.S. complicity, which, in addition to supporting Israel, threatens university students who joined the cause. The president of the FBEU, Dave Olivares, declared that this has led to massive mobilization and protests around the world, as more than 60 universities have raised their voices in rejection of the war and in defense of the Palestinian people. The university students also encouraged young people to protest worldwide against the brutal attack on the Palestinian people that has claimed the lives of thousands of innocent victims. In turn, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his country's army will carry out a military operation against the Gazan city of Rafah, even if a ceasefire agreement is reached. In an official statement issued on Tuesday, Netanyahu reiterated that the idea of stopping the war against Gaza before Israel achieves its objective is out of the question. The Israeli Prime Minister's statements come amid reports of a new ceasefire proposal being discussed between Hamas and the Zionist government, which includes a discussion to restore a sustainable peace in Gaza after an initial release of hostages on humanitarian grounds.
We will enter Rafah because we have no other choice. We will destroy the Hamas army. We will complete all the objectives of the war, including the repatriation of all our hostages.
The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, denounced that Israel carried out several airstrikes against the Palestinian governorate of Rafah in the Gaza Strip.
There have been airstrikes in the area of Rafah in recent weeks. A military assault on Rafah would escalate dramatically, killing thousands more civilians and forcing hundreds of thousands to flee.
Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. On May 1st, the many nations worldwide celebrate International Workers' Day. In Cuba's capital, Havana, all is set for the traditional March to the Revolution Square. Our correspondent, Melenda Los Santos, is there with the details.
Hello, studios. I greet you from Havana, Cuba, as yet another May the 1st is beginning, International Workers' Day. Really a very important day for working class around the world. Many countries are celebrating this day, but it has a particular significance in Cuba. We are in Havana, just meters away from El Malecón, the famous coastal area, and Cubans have gathered every May the 1st. This is a very significant day to celebrate the historical conquest of the Cuban Revolution. This day marks 65 years after the first, May the 1st, in 1959, where Cubans gathered to celebrate their conquest, also to continue issuing their demands. And this year, the celebration is taking place at what Cubans call the Anti-Imperialist Tribune. This is meters away from the U.S. Embassy, and this is very significant as well because this year, one of the two actually of the main claims that Cubans are taking here to this May the 1st are the claims for against the U.S. embargo that continues to hinder the Cuban progress and the Cuban people, and also the demand that Cuba is removed from the supporter of terrorist list that also hinders Cuban development. So this is two of the claims that are taking place here as Cubans continue to celebrate. It's very early in the morning because, of course, we know that in this country, the heat gets really strong in a couple of hours. So this is how Cubans are celebrating. We'll have more information across the day, and also let's get back to you.
In Greece, the main trade domestic unions go on general strike to demand pay raises and measures in favor of the working class on the International Workers' Day. ADD and GSEE, the two big trade unions confederations in the public and private sectors, called a general strike after the conservative government decided to move this Wednesday, May 1st public holiday to May 7th. The 24-hour strike was joined by seafarers paralyzing ships in all ports across the country. This includes the ferries connecting Athens with the islands when a period when millions of tourists are already in Greece for their holidays. Meanwhile, the Greek capital dawned on Wednesday without metro, tram, and bus services due to the partial strike of the transportation workers. Haiti's Transitional Presidential Council on Tuesday elected its president and appointed a new prime minister to restore political order in the nation. According to a statement from the Presidential Transition Council, the vote took place in the presence of the press and representatives of the sectors that agreed on the creation of this council. The Political Council appointed Edgar Leblanc as president of the institution in charge of the country's transition and named former sports minister Fritz Bellicer as the country's new prime minister. Haiti's Transitional Council leaders will have until February 7th, 2026 to reach a national consensus and hold elections. Let's review the profile of President of the Transitional Council in Haiti. Edgar Leblanc is an engineer and member of the January 30th political party collective. He has been politically active since 1986 and has participated in regional initiatives as a deputy. He was an electoral candidate in 2016 seeking to fill the presidential seat left after the end of Martel's mandate. With studies in economics and transport management, he worked in the transport department of the Ministry of Public Works. In Colombia, authorities detected that over 1 million ammunition, explosive, grenades and weapons are missing after carrying out inspections within the security forces on February 12 in Tolemaida and on April 1st in La Guajira. The President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro, announced on Tuesday the discovery of an arms trafficking network within the National Army, which was stealing and selling ammunition and other types of weapons for conflicts such as the one in Haiti. Likewise, the head of state expressed in a press conference that the only explanation for this is that there are networks made up of people from the military and civilian forces dedicated to the arms trade with legal state weapons that are sold to armed groups in Colombia.
The following findings were obtained. In the case of Tolemaida, as you are aware, it is known as the Central Fort of Tolemaida. On February 12, we found the following facts. We checked the official reports of the arms stocks with what we really found. We found missing 746 81mm caliber grenades, 3,712 M26 hand grenades, 2,880 40mm grenades, and 1,590 60mm grenades.
We have a fun short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin American and Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Fun short break, don't go away. Welcome back. On Wednesday, Indonesian authorities evacuated residents of the northern region due to the eruption of Ruang volcano, while hundreds of people waited at the port of Tagulandang for their transferring. The search and rescue agency unfolded 32 children, 56 adults and 21 elderly people were temporarily relocated to the port of Munte. Indonesia's Mount Ruang volcano erupted for the second time in 2 weeks on Tuesday, spewing ash nearly 2 kilometers into the air, shutting down an airport and splashing nearby villages with debris. The alert level on the island of Sulawesi has raised again to the highest level by the Geological Service as the sensors detected increase in volcanic activity. On Tuesday, delegates worldwide sorted out possible solutions for global plastic pollution at the 4th session of the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee in Ottawa, Canada. Negotiations resumed after having met in Kenya 5 months ago for the first time. Delegates and observers from 175 nations completed a draft which will be turning into an international legally binding instrument to diffuse plastic found everywhere from hills to ocean depth and within human beings.
I note that we have made good progress under this agenda item throughout this session.
For compromise, Canada supports the Chair's proposal, which is critically important to advancing our shared goal towards INC 5, and we urge members to show the same flexibility to ensure that a decision on intersessional work is agreed for the first time here in Ottawa, so we set ourselves up for success in Busan.
Venice launched an entrance ticket for single-day visitors, a measure aimed at combating mass tourism. The city, the first to implement such a device, sold some 10,000 tickets online at a price of €5 approximately. The measure has met with reluctance among residents who do not want their city to become a museum. The tickets, in the form of QR codes, have to be presented to the ticket inspectors who are stationed in several places, but especially at the Santa Lucia train station, the main entrance to the city. Although the fee is moderate and the system does not impose a daily limit on the number of visitors, municipal authorities hope it will deter some of the tourists who throng its narrow streets and